for me to just pick it up.
Oh, Lindsay, it's magic. What are you shaking your head for?
At me,
I can't believe this.
I know.
Like, I read the first book 20 years ago.
Did you really?
I've seen mine. Yeah.
It's a beautiful world. I can't wait to introduce you.
Take it away, Kels.
I'm so excited. Okay, so we've got some cool weather in Eastern Canada, and we've got a lot of folks really itching for summer. Unfortunately, with our upper air pattern that we've got here behind me, summer is just taking its sweet time. So we'll talk about that in just a second. I do want to show you something pretty sweet, though. This was over the week. Actually moved that quickly. It's just been sped up, so it looks even cooler for us. Coming up in the next hour, I'll show you the wider view of that video and what was above those clouds. It's pretty awesome. So we've got this trough in our jet stream, and so that's providing cool air to settle over Eastern Canada. And I laugh because so many people are just wishing for it last summer when, of course, we were seeing the impacts of a lingering El Nino, and that meant last summer was extraordinarily hot in the east. This summer, not so much, and we're seeing that reflected in the current temperatures right now across Eastern Canada. Double digits, and a lot of you are thinking, okay, this isn't bad, but perhaps it's more aptly illustrated in the afternoon highs for Ontario. Look at this today. Toronto getting up to 19 degrees today, maybe 20 if I'm being generous, and similar temperatures right across the province. So where has summer gone? Well, it kind of returns on Wednesday. We've got something to look forward to, but it definitely is a bit unsettled with all of this precipitation and rain moving its way across the Great Lakes, and it's moving pretty slow. So Thunder Bay, for example, you've had rain through the morning, and that could linger until early afternoon for you. These scattered showers will push right across southern Ontario through the day today, and we'll likely see the development of some possible thunderstorms as well. So this is the outlook for mid-afternoon, and it's not everywhere is wet, but where it's wet and pretty wet. A lot of these areas have seen substantial rainfall through the month as well, so the ground's pretty saturated. Localized pooling of water is not out of the question. Heading into Tuesday afternoon, we see a similar situation, but this time all across southern Quebec and pushing into New Brunswick as well. And then heading into Wednesday, again, we see this redevelopment for the afternoon, widespread afternoon active weather across Ontario and Quebec. So unsettled for the next couple of days. In terms of temperature, though, it's not all bad everywhere. In fact, Eastern Canada, the Atlantic provinces soaking up the sun today, as well as the West. You'll see that now with your local forecast.
A very small dog is wearing a very big skin suit.
I don't think Martha's that ugly. I really don't. I think they're
really
uglier. And imagine entering your dog into this thing. You're like, okay, I know what you're gonna win.
Right. But compared to last year's ugly dog, like, we should show the side by side. In Oshawa, when that storm hit, and the winds were incredible. They didn't last long, but temperature dropped about 10 degrees as that storm moved through. Take you well south of the border, where we're seeing one of the first hurricanes forming. This is in the Pacific. This is Hurricane Dora, right off the coast of Mexico. So luckily, the track is moving its way westward, right offshore, but it is possible as this hurricane moves into warmer water and a more conducive environment. This environment has less wind shear. Wind shear is when you see winds pick up speed and change direction with height. And that's great for tornadoes, but not great for hurricanes. It's a hurricane killer. It's entering into an area with less shear. So it could actually strengthen possibly up to a hurricane or Category 2 in the next day. But the real impact on land is the southern Mexico coast will likely see elevated rainfall. There's also the possibility of life-threatening rip currents and high tides as well. Here at home, Eastern Canada, it is cool. You just heard Lindsay talking about the record highs in BC. Well, the heat continues there today, but in the east, we're making up for the heat that's in the west by having extremely cool temperatures. Plus, it's a bit unsettled as well. So we've got this rain moving across the Great Lakes. It's going to be a bit showery today across Ontario. And in terms of the daytime highs, it's high teens, low 20s. Sault Ste. Marie, you're not even in high teens. 14 for you today with that rainfall. Thunder Bay rain as well, and a widespread risk of thunderstorm. So this means not everywhere will see wet weather, but if it's not wet, it's likely to be fairly cloudy and, again, cool. Now, in through Quebec, we've had some rain moving through just north of Montreal up towards Quebec City and now tracking along the St. Lawrence. This is going to push into New Brunswick later on today, but in behind it, it actually is leaving sunshine. Again, these temperatures are pretty cool, though. Average high is closer to about 25 today in Montreal, but 22 is what the city will peak at, 21 in Quebec City. Now, for Atlantic Canada, you see some areas are dealing with rain. St. John, New Brunswick, for example, you also have a risk of thunderstorm. There's a possible risk of thunderstorm in Corner Brook and Halifax as well, but otherwise, if you have the sunshine, enjoy. These are the warmest temperatures in Eastern Canada. In terms of active weather this morning, of course, we've got those showers moving across New Brunswick, but otherwise it's pretty clear right now. Now, the rest of Canada, weather front this morning, one of our top stories is Hurricane Dora south of the border, right along the Mexico coastline. Now, there's the hurricane now, and you can see the well-defined eye. It's tracking its way westward out into the Pacific, into some warmer water, and we'll likely see it stay quite strong over the next day or so and then begin to weaken. But the impact on land is going to be heavy rainfall right through about this section here from Zihuatanejo all the way towards Manzanillo as well. We're also seeing very strong tides and rip currents as well. Now, here at home, I mean, it's been cool in eastern Canada, but a couple communities still getting up into the mid to 20s today in Atlantic Canada. There is a widespread risk of scattered thunderstorms, though, for the Atlantic provinces. If you got sun, enjoy it. Into southern Quebec, it's nice and warm today. 22 in Montreal. It is below seasonal, but it's in the 20s. We'll take it. That in comparison to Timmins, Sudbury, North Bay, Sault Ste. Marie, that are all in the teens today, with showers and thunderstorms possible right across southern Ontario, including the city of Toronto. Sunshine returns as we hit Winnipeg, 22 degrees today, partly cloudy in Saskatchewan, and highs in the mid to high 20s. Now in Alberta today, most of the province looks pretty good, but right around the capital region, there's the risk of some severe thunderstorms later on. Biggest concern are going to be incredibly strong wind gusts right around Edmonton, plus moderate-sized hail and heavy downpours. Watch for those firing up later on today. And then sunshine returns as we head into BC. Kelowna today, look at you, 32 degrees. Now here's a look a little bit closer. Good morning to you at home. We are talking obviously about the heat that Lindsay mentioned in the west through BC and now spilling over into Alberta. But for eastern Canada, it is a different story. It is chilly, and part of the reason is this upper trough. So this is our upper air pattern, high up in the atmosphere. We're talking about 200 millibars, so roughly about 30,000 feet up, if not a bit higher. So when we've got our jet stream kind of kinked like this in the west, it means that there are some pockets of warmer air, but more active weather on the way. And then in the east, this trough is allowing colder air to sink its way in, but also create more of an unsettled weather pattern. And for people in eastern Canada, they're saying, well, this is nothing new. This is what we've had over the last couple of months. Now, with all of this cool air and active weather, there are some pockets of sunshine. Namely today, in most of Quebec, as that rain departs, and then for portions of Ontario as well. But this slow-moving rain across the Great Lakes is going to spurt off some more thunderstorms right across southern Ontario that then tracks into southern Quebec later on tonight. So Ottawa, Montreal, you do have a risk of thunderstorm overnight tonight. We're seeing most of the showers push out of Quebec City this morning, but they're moving right into New Brunswick and also portions of Nova Scotia as well. So while many areas have sunshine, if you have an umbrella, keep it handy through the rest of your day. Now into the west, it's cloudy now in Edmonton, but take a look at this video that was taken last evening at 1:30 site. But in terms of those temperatures, you can see that it is going to be glorious in the west, from 22 in Winnipeg all the way up to 30 today in Calgary. Edmonton, you do have a risk of thunderstorm, and they could get severe. The risk will be likely very strong wind gusts, possibly moderate hail, and it has to do with this upper trough that's going to swing its way into an area that's quite hot and humid. But into BC, that warm air persists, definitely into the interior. 31 today in Revelstoke, 31 in Cranbrook. Vancouver, I mean, it's not 30 degrees, but 21. Nothing to scoff at today. Canada, here is your Monday forecast. Good reminder that you never drive through floodwaters. 1 foot of moving water is enough to sweep an entire car away, as we see with that. So if you see floodwaters, make sure you avoid at all costs. We are talking flooding rains potentially with Hurricane Dora, our latest activity in terms of tropical storms, well, now developed into a hurricane, but off the coast of Mexico. And this is going to move its way westward into warmer water and an environment that's a little more conducive to hurricanes. So we could possibly see a wee bit of strengthening in the next couple of hours or so. But right now, sustained winds at 130 kilometers an hour. You can see those winds actually do intensify over the next 24 hours as we head into this evening. But on land, the biggest impact will be heavy rainfall, really strong currents and riptides as well. Now here at home, some of the warmest temperatures in the east will be in Atlantic Canada. It feels like summer in Newfoundland for portions of Nova Scotia, New Brunswick as well. Into Quebec, temperature slowly starts to drop, but it's still sunny, save for a few showers this morning. Then we hit Ontario. And it's not summer. 14 today in Sault Ste. Marie, 17 in Barrie. Widespread thunderstorm risk this afternoon. Widespread showers as well, and that's keeping it cool. Sun returns as we head into Manitoba. 22 today in Winnipeg. Partly cloudy across much of Saskatchewan. Most of Alberta looks pretty good. It's pretty cloudy this morning. Right around Edmonton this afternoon, there's a risk of severe thunderstorms. Biggest concern are going to be very gusty winds. We're talking winds up to about 100 clicks an hour. Moderate-sized hail and heavy downpours as well. Calgary, I think you'll escape that thunderstorm activity, but north of the city up towards Edmonton, it could get pretty rough. Sun again once we hit BC. Kelowna today, 32 degrees. Canada, that's a look right across the country. Now here's a look a little bit closer to home.